Welcome to English Speaking Corner, your calm space to build real speaking confidence. Today, we are going to build an automatic response system for the most stressful small talk question of the week. It is 8:45 a.m. on Monday morning. You are pouring coffee in the office kitchen, and your cheerful boss walks in, smiles, and asks, "Morning, how was your weekend?" Your mind goes completely blank, and you just stare in panic.
I used to dread Monday mornings because I thought I had to translate a long, exciting story about my weekend before I even had my first cup of coffee.
By the end of this episode, you will have a simple three-phrase formula to answer this perfectly on autopilot, so you can sound natural even when you are half asleep.
That situation in the office kitchen used to be my biggest nightmare. I remember standing there holding my mug, and my manager would walk in looking so energized. She would ask me what I did over the weekend, and suddenly, every English word I had ever learned just vanished from my brain.
It is such a universal feeling. Your heart beats fast, you worry about your grammar, you worry about sounding boring if you just stayed home, or you worry about making a mistake if you try to explain a complicated story.
Exactly. One time I tried to explain that I spent Saturday building a bookshelf from IKEA, but in the panic of the moment, I forgot the word for bookshelf and I forgot the word for tools. I ended up waving my hands around, saying I was hitting wood with metal for 6 hours. My manager looked so confused and slightly concerned for my safety.
That is hilarious, but it perfectly shows why we need to change our approach. When a native speaker asks about your weekend on a Monday morning, especially at work or school, they are usually not asking for a detailed documentary of your life.
They're not? Because it always feels like a test. It feels like they're waiting to hear a fascinating story about mountain climbing or attending a fancy gala.
Not at all. In English-speaking workplace culture, asking about the weekend is simply a polite ritual. It's a bridge to start the day. They're just making friendly noise while the coffee brews. They want a smooth, pleasant interaction that lasts exactly 10 seconds.
That is actually a huge relief. So I do not owe them a massive, perfectly grammatically correct story.
You do not. And trying to invent one while you're still waking up is what causes that terrible brain freeze. So today, we are going to give you a survival formula. It's three short sentences. You memorize them, you practice the rhythm, and you use them every single Monday until they become muscle memory.
I love the sound of that. A formula that requires zero brain power on a Monday morning. What is the formula?
I'm going to play both parts of the conversation. I'll be the cheerful boss, and then I'll be the relaxed, confident employee using the formula. I want you, the listener, to just close your eyes, listen to the flow of the words, and notice how calm and short it is.
I'll just sit back and enjoy the show. Let's hear it.
Morning, happy Monday. Did you do anything fun this weekend? Honestly, I kept it pretty low-key. I just caught up on some sleep. Nothing too crazy. How about you? Oh, same here. Just relaxed. Have a good week.
Wow, that was so smooth. It was incredibly polite, but it also completely removed the pressure. It sounded so natural.
It works every time. Let's break down exactly what the employees said. The first phrase of the formula is, "I kept it pretty low-key."
Wait, low key? Like a musical key? Like playing a piano? I've heard people say this, but I never understood what it actually meant.
That's a great question. It has nothing to do with music, at least not anymore. In casual, modern English, low key is an adjective that means quiet, relaxed, and not busy. It's the opposite of a loud, crazy, high energy event.
Oh, I see. So if I have a big birthday party with 50 people and loud music, that's not low key.
Exactly. But if you invite two close friends over to eat pizza and watch a movie on the sofa, that's a very low key birthday.
That makes perfect sense. So when you say, I kept it pretty low key, you're telling the other person that you intentionally chose to have a quiet, relaxed weekend.
Yes, and it's a brilliant phrase for language learners because it instantly sets the expectation that there's no wild story to tell. You're politely letting them know that your weekend was boring, but you're making boring sound like a deliberate, healthy choice.
That's a fascinating psychological trick. You're not saying I did nothing because I'm boring. You're saying I kept it low-key because I value my rest. It sounds so much more confident.
Precisely. Let's look at the structure of that first phrase. I kept it pretty low-key. The verb is kept, which is the past tense of keep. We use pretty here not to mean beautiful, but as a softener. It means fairly or quite.
I kept it pretty low-key. It really rolls off the tongue. But what was the second phrase in the formula, the middle part?
The second phrase was, I just caught up on some sleep.
Caught up on. That is a phrasal verb, right? I always struggle with those. Why do we say caught up on sleep instead of just saying I slept a lot?
You could absolutely say I slept a lot, but catching up on something sounds much more natural and conversational. Let us think about what it means to catch up. Imagine you are running a race and you fall behind your friend. You have to run faster to reach them. You have to catch up to them.
Right, I understand that. You are closing the distance.
Exactly. We use the same idea for things in life that we fall behind on. During a busy work week, you might only sleep 5 or 6 hours a night. You fall behind on your sleep. You're in a sleep deficit. So, on the weekend, you sleep for 10 hours. You're closing the distance. You're catching up on sleep.
That is such a vivid way to think about it. You are returning your balance to normal. Can you catch up on other things besides sleep?
Absolutely. It's an incredibly useful phrase. If your house is messy because you were too busy working all week, on Saturday you can catch up on chores. If you have a huge pile of dirty clothes, you can catch up on laundry. If you have not seen your favorite television series in a month, you can catch up on your shows.
So I could swap out the middle of the formula depending on what I actually did. I could say, I kept it pretty low key. I just caught up on some laundry.
Exactly. The formula is flexible, but if your mind is completely blank, I caught up on some sleep is the safest, most universally understood answer. Every adult in the world understands the desire to catch up on sleep. Your boss will immediately relate to you.
It builds a connection without requiring a long story. I love it. What was the third and final phrase of the formula?
The final phrase is the closer. You say, nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy. Why do we use the word crazy here? Are we worried the boss thinks we are wild animals on the weekend?
It's just a very common conversational filler. In this context, crazy just means unusual, wild, or highly eventful. By saying nothing too crazy, you are politely telling the other person that the topic is finished. There are no more details to ask about. It's the verbal equivalent of tying a neat little bow on the conversation.
It wraps it up perfectly. It signals to the manager, my story is over. You can go back to making your coffee now.
Exactly. And immediately after you say nothing too crazy, you bounce the question right back to them. You ask, how about you?
Because people love talking about themselves. If I ask them how their weekend was, I don't have to speak English anymore. I can just listen and nod.
You have discovered the ultimate secret of small talk. The faster you can bounce the question back, the less work your brain has to do.
This formula is brilliant. I kept it pretty low-key. I just caught up on some sleep. Nothing too crazy. How about you? It's almost like a protective shield. But I want to talk about grammar for a moment, because I know exactly what I used to do wrong on Monday mornings.
Tell me about it. What was your grammar trap?
I would try to use the most complicated tenses possible to sound intelligent. My boss would ask about my weekend, and I would think, well, the weekend started in the past, but it has a connection to the present because it's Monday morning. So maybe I should use the present perfect continuous.
Oh no, that sounds like a recipe for disaster before 9 in the morning.
It was. I would stand there and say, I have been resting at my house, and I had been considering going to the market. By the time I finished my sentence, I was exhausted, and my boss had already stopped listening.
That's such a common trap. When we feel nervous, we often think that using complex grammar will make us sound more fluent. But in casual spoken English, native speakers actually use very simple grammar for small talk.
They do? So I don't need the present perfect to talk about Saturday.
No, you just need the simple past. Keep it incredibly simple. Subject, verb in the past tense, finished. I kept it low-key. Kept is the simple past of keep. I caught up on sleep. Caught is the simple past of catch.
Just simple past. That is so relieving. I don't need to calculate timelines in my head.
Exactly. If you want to use a variation, it's still simple past. I watched a movie. I cleaned my apartment. I visited my sister. Don't overcomplicate it. Save your mental energy for your actual work tasks.
If you're enjoying this calm, step-by-step approach to English, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We build these podcast episodes specifically to give you a quiet space to understand how real conversations actually work without the stress of a traditional classroom.
Now, having the right words is only half the battle. The other half is how you say them. Your tone of voice and your intonation change the entire meaning of the formula.
That makes sense. If I use this relaxing formula, but I speak incredibly fast and my voice is shaking, my boss is going to think I am terrified, not relaxed.
Right. We want you to sound casual. To do that, we need to practice a specific technique called falling intonation. In English, when we are making a calm, factual statement, our pitch drops at the very end of the sentence. It signals that we are relaxed and we are finished speaking.
So instead of my voice going up at the end, like a question, it needs to go down, like I am landing an airplane on a runway.
That is a wonderful analogy, landing the airplane smoothly. We're going to practice this right now. We're going to use our shadowing technique. I will say one phrase from the formula. I want you, the listener, to listen to the rhythm of my voice. Notice how my voice drops at the end. Then I will give you a few seconds of silence. I want you to speak the phrase out loud in that empty space.
Do not just think the words in your head. You have to physically move your mouth to build the muscle memory. Let us do it.
Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Here is the first phrase. I kept it pretty low-key. Now it's your turn. Say it out loud. Try to land the airplane. Let us do that one again. Pay attention to the word pretty. We do not hit the T sound very hard. It sounds more like a soft D. Pretty, pretty. I kept it pretty low-key. Your turn. Speak out loud.
Excellent. I can imagine our listeners dropping their pitch right on the word key. Low key. It sounds so confident.
Now for the second phrase. We're going to link the words caught and up on together. In natural speech, they do not sound like three separate words. They blend into one smooth sound. Caught up on.
Caught up on. It sounds like one long word.
Yes. Listen to the whole sentence and notice the rhythm. I just caught up on some sleep. Now you try. Speak out loud into the quiet space. Great. Let us try that again. Keep your voice low and relaxed. I just caught up on some sleep. Your turn.
That is feeling really good. It forces you to slow down. If you try to say caught up on too fast, you trip over your own tongue.
Exactly. Slow is smooth and smooth is confident. Now for the final phrase. This one also uses falling intonation. You are closing the door on the topic. Nothing too crazy. Your turn to speak. Land the airplane on the word crazy. Let us repeat that one. Make the cra part of crazy a little longer and then drop the pitch. Crazy. Nothing too crazy. Your turn.
I feel more relaxed just listening to this practice. Now we need to put the pieces together. The real test is doing it all at once, without rushing.
Let us combine all three sentences. I'm going to say the entire formula. Notice how I do not rush from one sentence to the next. I leave a tiny fraction of a second between them. It shows that I am comfortable in the silence. I kept it pretty low-key. I just caught up on some sleep. Nothing too crazy. Now it's your turn. I am going to give you plenty of time. Say all three sentences out loud. Go.
Fantastic. If you did not get it perfectly that time, do not worry at all. You can always rewind this episode and practice it 10 times if you need to. That is the beauty of this quiet study space.
I want to address a question that some learners might have. Mark, what if a listener actually had a very busy weekend? What if they traveled to another city or went to a huge music festival? Should they lie and say they kept it low-key?
That is a very fair question. I would feel weird lying to my boss if I actually went to Paris for the weekend. How do we handle that without breaking the simple past rule?
You do not have to lie, but you still use the same framework to protect yourself from a long, complicated story. You replace low-key with a simple fact, but you still close it down with nothing too crazy.
Give me an example. Let's say I went to Paris.
You would say, I actually took a quick trip to Paris, just walked around and ate some good food. Nothing too crazy.
Wow, even a trip to Paris sounds incredibly manageable when you frame it like that.
Exactly. You're giving them a fact using the simple past. I took a trip, I walked around, I ate food, and then you use nothing too crazy to signal that you do not want to give a 30-minute presentation about the Eiffel Tower.
It's all about managing expectations. You are in control of how much information you share. What if I had a terrible weekend? What if my car broke down and I spent 10 hours waiting for a mechanic?
In a professional workplace setting, Monday morning is usually not the time to complain about a terrible weekend, unless you are very close friends with your boss. If you start complaining, you change the energy of the morning, and it requires more complex vocabulary to explain car engines.
So what do I do?
You use a variation of the formula to stay neutral. You can say, I just ran some errands and fixed some things around the house. Nothing too crazy. You are protecting your peace. You do not owe your colleagues your stress.
That is a huge cultural lesson. Small talk is about maintaining a pleasant atmosphere, not necessarily reporting the complete honest truth of your emotional state. Keeping it neutral is a powerful skill.
It really is. Now that we have mastered the pronunciation, the grammar, and the psychology behind the formula, it is time for the final simulation. We are going to build a simulator right now.
I love this part. This is where we prepare your brain for the real world.
Mark is going to play your cheerful, high-energy boss. He is going to walk into the break room, pour his coffee, and ask you the dreaded question.
I'm going to speak at a normal, native speed. I will not slow down for you. But you do not need to panic because you have your automatic response system ready.
When Mark finishes asking the question, I am going to stay completely silent. I will give you 5 full seconds. In that silence, I want you to speak your new 3-phrase formula out loud. I kept it pretty low-key. I just caught up on some sleep. Nothing too crazy. Are you ready?
Let us set the scene. It is Monday morning. The coffee is brewing. I walk through the door. Morning! Happy Monday! Did you do anything fun this weekend?
Now speak your formula out loud.
Perfect. I'm sure you sounded totally relaxed. Let's do it one more time. This time, I'm going to ask the question slightly differently because native speakers do not always use the exact same words, but your answer will remain exactly the same.
This is great practice. Listen to the meaning, not just these specific words. Take a deep breath. You are in control.
Hey, good morning. How was your weekend? Get up to much?
Speak your formula now.
Fantastic job. You handled that beautifully. You landed the airplane safely.
Notice how much better that feels. Instead of your heart racing as you search for vocabulary words, you just rely on your trusted formula. You gave a native-sounding response, you used perfect simple past grammar, and you smoothly ended the topic.
And then you can enjoy your coffee in peace. It's a complete transformation from dreading Monday mornings to actually feeling confident when you walk into the office.
We want you to take this confidence with you into the real world. So we have a challenge for you today. In the comments down below, I want you to answer the question using the simple past tense. Did you have a busy weekend, or did you keep it low-key? Practice your simple past in the comments.
Next Monday morning, do not try to translate a complex story in your head. Just smile, take a deep breath, and use your new low-key formula. You are completely ready for this.
Thank you for spending this quiet time with us at English Speaking Corner. Keep practicing, stay relaxed, and we'll see you in the next episode.